that they remain committed to South Africa despite companies' more global perspective. Sasol's an energy giant, of course, that began making synthetic petrol in South Africa and is now focusing on expanding its operations in chemicals around the world. It did suffer a little bit when oil prices fell, but lately it's been benefiting from the rise in oil prices and tax cuts that have been seen in the United States. Well, Francis had caught up with one of the joint CEOs of Sasol, Bongani, Nqwababa and Stephen Cornell at the World Economic Forum. We've actually caught up with both of them at that annual meeting, and she started by asking them if there was a feeling that the glow about South Africa at WEF this year is there.
Feeling it, I'm experiencing it, because it's a much better experience than in previous years, that there is clarity of direction, there is credibility of messaging, and we're certainly on a great path. Not only are we saying what we're going to do, but we're actually doing it.
Yeah, agreed. We have a will now, and I think that's recognized. Now, I think the global community is saying, let's see where it goes, but we're on a great path, and I think everyone is looking forward to seeing the direction continue.
Sasol has said that their direction is going more towards chemicals and being global. And I think South Africans get panicky. Anytime companies say that, does it mean you want to move out of South Africa, reorientate abroad because of the problems? Maybe you can just explain that balance you're trying to achieve and your perspective on South Africa.
So let me start with, we have 30,000 employees worldwide, 27,000 are in South Africa. South Africa is our home. It's where we're always going to be. All we're saying is that there are opportunities both in South Africa and international, and we're going to find all of the ones that make sense for us as we move forward.
Is South Africa home for you?
It certainly is, and just to demonstrate that is, last year we spent 116 billion rand in South Africa on wages, on procurement, and on capex. No other private company I'm aware of is spending that kind of money, so we're definitely committed and will continue into the future.
Now, there is this controversial character, the US President Donald Trump, coming. A lot of the African delegates I've spoken to aren't too pleased. But you guys are benefiting from tax cuts, and you could have even benefited even more. Does that put you in a paradoxical situation?
We did an analysis on behalf of our board as to what does it mean, the transition to the new Trump administration, and our analysis showed that it is a net positive. That was before the tax cuts, which were announced last year, is that there is less regulation and the environment is certainly more business friendly, but the tax cuts are certainly going to help, since we've got a big project in the USA. We'll rather focus on the business of business and not be distracted.
So you don't want to talk about the man, you'll focus on the tax cuts.
Yeah, and being an American, I really hesitate to comment on the man, but really it's a great thing that he's come in terms of the whole topic of nationalism and how do we stay connected as countries move towards nationalism, and the whole America First kind of has a bit of that flavor. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's received here.
Does the oil price now that's looking good change your plans? Because you were pulling back in Canada and parts of the US?
No, it really doesn't change our plans. Our strategy basically assumes a $60 Brent crude, and we do sensitivities above that, below that. So it's kind of on the high end, but it's always going to be volatile given the dynamics of the world. So nothing has really changed in terms of our plans.
Maybe we can end with a bit of an outlook for oil. You can throw in the rand if you want. South Africans interested where we're going in terms of fuel and the future.
So we focus on what we can control, and even at the strong rand which we are facing now, is that our rand oil price is around 840, which is much better than what it was a few years ago at 650.
Right, we'll be crossing to Francis Heard a little bit later on and try and get a live update, because Donald Trump is in town and she's been watching it all unfold. She's just been talking to various business leaders from South Africa a little bit later on today.